Welcome, everybody, to the next edition of the Past Presidents Podcast. I'm honored today to be seated next to Rick Wilson from Fidelity National, Senior Vice President, Certified Title Professional, the Vice Chair of the Finance Committee of the NJLTA, and the Chair of the Dobie Liaison Committee for the NJLTA. Rick was a past president in the years 1989-1990. And he was awarded the CTP in 1995, the Distinguished Service Award in 2014, the President's Award in 2023. And he was, one of the things we're going to talk about, he was instrumental in the establishment of the agency section back in 1987. And I know that that's a hot topic for a lot of reasons right now. So that's one of the things we are going to talk about. But first and foremost, Rick, thanks for sitting with me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
First thing I want to ask you before we dig into the hot topics.
Okay.
What drew you to the title insurance industry? How'd you end up in this?
Okay, interesting story. I have an older brother, unfortunately had an older brother, who was in the industry. I had accepted a job out of college with a bank in Reading, Pennsylvania, in their management training program. And then my brother Steve was working for Pioneer National Title Insurance Company up in New England. And he said to me, before I started, I still hadn't graduated yet, and he said that they need somebody to do sales agency rep work in New Jersey. Would you be interested? I said, okay. I didn't really know what he did that much, but at the time, my car at school, if it rained, I had to bail out the trunk.
I had a car like that.
The job at Pioneer National Title included a company car, and I could live at home rather than and it was a couple $1,000s more salary. So that was kind of a no-brainer, the car part of it, just because I wouldn't have to bail out my car if it rained.
Sure.
So that's how I got into it. I started a week after I graduated from college.
That's excellent. What would you say is some of the biggest changes in the industry since you began?
Oh, there have been a lot. I mean, when I started, there really weren't many agents in New Jersey. Most of the business was done through branch offices now called direct operations. And obviously there was a North and South Jersey practice. This is pre-Opinion 26 days. And so in North Jersey, the attorneys controlled business, and in South Jersey, the realtors did, and some little bit lenders. But so it was really it was almost like two different states, the way we did business, the New York influence and the Philadelphia influence. But so that was kind of, and as I said, there weren't many agents in New Jersey at the time. So there's been a lot of changes.
Sure. Let me ask you, what steered you towards getting involved with the New Jersey Land Title Association?
Okay, so I started with Pioneer National Title, which at the time was the largest underwriter. And then he changed the name to Ticor, and they were bought out by Chicago Title. And I was doing agency rep work, and then somebody who had worked at Pioneer National went over to the title insurance company in Minnesota out in the Midwest, and he knew me. So he said, title insurance company in Minnesota really didn't have anything in New Jersey. Would you be interested? So that kind of intrigued me. My boss who hired me at Pioneer National, he had retired. And so I just thought this was an interesting opportunity. So I actually opened an office for title insurance company in Minnesota, which became Old Republic later on. But so I was the representative for title insurance company in Minnesota at the Title Association meetings. So that was in June of '83. So I started attending meetings then.
Okay. And how did your early experiences shape your approach to being president?
Well, when I attended the meeting, first of all, at the time, and if I go into too much detail, you want to just stop, just tell me. But
no.
At the time, Title Insurance Company in Minnesota had withdrawn from the rating bureau over a case out in Arizona. So the title association meetings used to be after the rating bureau meetings. They were all held at the Landmark Inn in Woodbridge.
Right.
And so I used to, the title insurance company in Minnesota was the only company not in the rating bureau. So I used to have to sit outside the room and wait for them to finish the rating bureau meeting to go into the association meeting.
Sure.
And they ended up changing the order, put the association meetings before the rating bureau meetings, so I didn't have to do that after a while. But so I was definitely the youngest person in the room, because I was here at 26, 27 years old, 26 years old probably. And it was, as Joe Grabus, it was a good old boys club for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, Elnora Hartman was involved, and Marianne Tominelli got involved later on. But anyway, so I remember going to the meetings, and I didn't say this at my first meeting because I was trying to be obedient, but at one of the early meetings, I said, there are no agents in the room. And I thought that was kind of odd, because agents were becoming more prominent in New Jersey. And so that kind of, we ended up forming a committee to get agency participation. And so that's how I got more involved, because I was kind of saying, we should have more voice from agents. So that's how I got it. But I also got some enemies that way too.
Sure.
But, but that's how I got more involved, is because I was kind of using that rallying cry a little bit.
Right. Well, that's great. Look, as an agent, I only worked for an underwriter for 1 year. So, the rest of my career is all agency side. Yeah. As an agent, I can say that, that advocacy for our side of the equation is, much appreciated. Yeah. And I think there's a movement now starting up. Previously in the past years, it's always been about how do we get agents more involved? How do we get agents more involved? And I think one of the ways we can get them more involved is if we increase their stakes. Like, you got to get more involved because you have more of a say now, and you have more responsibility to make sure this thing lasts. So yeah, I'll be interested to see people like you continue to support the agent voice in the NJLTA, because I think it's important. We do drive the business at this point, and it's very important that we have a good working relationship with each other.
I agree.
And less our side, their side conversations, and more what's good for the industry conversations.
I agree. I know when we had this call, and again, if you want to get into this later, whatever, they talk about a merger of the agency section with the title association. And I guess I don't really look at it that way. And maybe I'm a dinosaur or whatever, but I look at it as the agency section is part of the association. Yes. And I think there is a need for the agency section to have their own organization so that the agents can have a voice in that part of it. And I realize that there's some money issues, voting issues, and things like that. But really, the agency section is part of the title association.
Right.
And I really think I don't look at it as a merger. I do think some things have to be melded together, maybe a little better. But I still think it's very important that the agency section have autonomy, and that agents can go and kind of move up in the agency section.
Sure.
So I think that's important. But I know you probably don't want to get into that right now.
No, I think, look, we try to keep the conversation natural here. So it goes where it goes. My notes here are not an outline. They are a rough sketch.
Yeah.
So,
well, the agency section, I mean, actually, it's interesting when I look back at my file, I keep notes and whatever, but the agency section actually started in 82. It was approved. And I was not attending title association meetings at the time. I was at Pioneer National, but I have a copy of a memo that I sent out to, we didn't have email then, sent out to agents saying that the title association approved an agency section in 82. And it was, there were no voting rights. You could not attend Board of Governors meetings. They really wanted the Board of Governors wanted the agents to help with lobbying efforts and to reinvigorate the committees.
Sure.
They thought that we could have more participation on the committees. That was really the main purpose of having the agency section. And then what happened was it just never really materialized.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought it up at the Board of Governors meeting, and some people thought it was heresy, but and we ended up forming what was called an agency participation committee. There was Frank Melchior was on it, Harry Hayes, and Marianne Tominelli and Larry Usignol came on later on. But we met to try to figure out how to do this. And I actually there was a group in, they took offense to this, but they were really based in the southwest part of the state, the Association of Title Insurance Agents. It was Hal Donahue, Len Rossetti, Nancy Brasington, Pat Brennan, and they really represented that group, even though when I met with them, this is probably 86, 87, and they thought that they should become the agency section.
Right.
And I remember saying to them that, you don't really represent the whole state. Mm-hmm. And they took tremendous offense at that.
Mm.
And I said, well, the way it was written in the Constitution is that the agency section has to provide a plan on how they would like to organize. And that really never went anyplace. So then we ended up having a meeting at the conference center off of Exit 8. And we invited agents to come, and we formed like a steering committee. We had representatives from North, Central, and South Jersey, and we kind of went from there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that steering committee, which was made up of agents, so I did attend the meetings, and maybe a couple other underwriters did. They provided a plan, and I presented that plan to the Board of Governors, and it was shot down.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were some very outspoken people that didn't really want an agency section, an active agency section. And then, so we revised it a little bit, and it ended up getting approved. But that took a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I think my involvement increased by me saying that I thought it was odd that there weren't agents at the meeting.
Sure.
And I think that that kind of, I guess people noticed me or whatever. Maybe because I was the youngest one in the room. I don't know.
So look, it seems to me like we're still in the throes of trying to, coalesce a single unified association where we're not so much talking about this side versus that side where it's all us. I think we're heading that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get trapped sometimes in nomenclature and looking back to the way things used to be done. So look, I'm hopeful that the people that we've got in place now, our new executive director, and our current president, and the folks that are going to be president in the next 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
will be able to guide us through it, because I think there's value in it. I think I've said this. I think it's an existential issue for the association. We really need to put this to bed.
I agree. It was. I have to say that the call was. It was interesting to hear all of you. I was thinking we were not making progress. I guess I was just kind of disappointed in that. But because again, I think that for the most part, there are very few issues. There are some issues that there may be a difference underwriting perspective and agency perspective. But for the most part, there's much more we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
And there's much more that we need to do as a group to benefit all of us,
right,
than to have the dichotomy between agents and underwriters. Really, there are very few issues. There have been some, but very few issues that are controversial. And I know votes are an issue, but there are very few votes that are controversial. But I understand it, and I think it should be worked out pretty easily myself. But
I think there's an absolute necessity to have an agency, if you want to call it a caucus or a committee or a conference within the association, as well as an underwriter chamber where they each side discusses things that are pertinent to their part of the plan or part of the play. But I really do also think that we need to make decisions for the association, for the industry together.
Right.
And however that works, we've got to come to that. I think one of the things that we really need to work on is trust. I think there's a lot of mistrust, whether it's founded or not. I think it's somewhat passed down. It's inherited trust or mistrust, I should say. I think we need to get rid of that. We've got to trust each other in order to make this thing work.
I agree. And I think there's misunderstanding too. I just think that, but whatever. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Oh, great. So I'm going to write that down.
Okay.
Rick agreed
for whatever that's worth.
100%.
No, but I agree that there is mistrust, and there shouldn't be. I don't think. I really say I don't quite understand it.
Right. I think, we need to trust each other that, the agents will rise to the challenge of taking up more responsibility in the management and survival of the association. And the agents need to trust that the underwriters have their best interests at heart, because our best interests are their best interests, because, we're all connected in this business.
There really aren't, like back when I started at 83, 84, I was starting with the association. At that time, like I said, there were not many agents in the state, and there were a lot of companies were doing business direct operation, and we only had filed rates for a short period of time, and that changed things. When we got filed rates, the agents there was a proliferation of agents because we didn't have a company operation that could cut the rate and keep people out of business.
Sure.
I mean, that didn't exist anymore. So I think the filed rates really led to the proliferation of agents. And I think that's been a beneficial thing for the industry. Not everybody would agree, but I know some of the old time managers of Commonwealth wish we didn't have the filed rates. But I mean, that was whatever. That was a long time ago.
So you mentioned rates. So I want to steer a little bit into your involvement with the Rating Bureau. I know there's a lot you probably can't talk about.
Maybe. Yeah.
But let me ask you just this. From the time you've been involved working on the Rating Bureau, what are the biggest challenges that you all face in, getting things organized there?
Well, and I've actually been chairman of the rate committee since, I think, 1994, a long time. And maybe too long. Some people probably would say that. But
long may ye reign.
But the challenge, the biggest challenge, is our regulator, and filing for the rate. I mean, we have to be able to justify the rates. They go back 5 years, and so they'll look at a 5-year window. And if we have a good year in those 5 years, that kind of makes it difficult for us to justify a rate increase.
Sure.
But we have usually, when we file, we usually have good justification for it. And a lot of times the department, a perfect example is the settlement fee. We applied for a substantial increase as a rating bureau. And the department was not going to, they told us they would not approve it. They would approve X. And X was not sufficient for us. And so we went to this new model, which is, I know, controversial, but we thought it was the best way to get an increase for that. I think it's unwieldy as well, but I think it was a way that it's possible to charge a better settlement fee.
Right. An appropriate settlement fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, no secret that agents and settlement people all around are vexed by the structure of it. Just because
I understand.
It creates a dichotomy where you're either, your competition is either charging towards the bottom to try to undercut you, or they're potentially exploiting the consumer by racing to the top. And we know there's not a lot of enforcement going on. The vast majority of the agents that I know stick to somewhere in the middle. But the requirement for tracking the time becomes problematic because that's a very nebulous thing to track.
I understand, and it's definitely not perfect for sure.
Right.
The only thing I can say is, if we, as a rating bureau, accepted what the department was willing to give us, you would be outraged, because I believe what is being charged as a settlement fee is higher than what the department was willing to give us.
Right.
Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it. I agree. We better have a flat fee, but we had a flat $300 fee for a while, and that was pretty easy to understand. You could charge a little bit more out of office or after hours, but they were not going to give us what we had filed.
Yeah,
and so we were trying to do something that made it better. I mean, another thing is this FinCEN reporting is going to be a huge burden for agents and any settlement person. And
look, we can swerve over to FinCEN for a second if you like. So
whatever you want to do.
I had a conversation with an agency member. I'll keep them. They'll show me names.
Okay.
But I was talking to them about our plans for March when FinCEN rears its ugly head, and we end up having to do the government's job for about 10% of our work. We estimate. And I was bringing up the fact that this member also has dealings in Pennsylvania, and I said, "Are your Pennsylvania agents concerned that the cost of this capture and retention is going to be something they can't pass through?" It's not like in New Jersey where it's a cost of producing the title or the settlement. We can pass it through. In Pennsylvania, it's not that way. And they were like, "Oh, you know what? We haven't really thought about that." The platforms I've looked at are great, but they're expensive. It's not going to be a cheap undertaking. It's going to be between I would estimate between $100 and $180 per title invoice.
Okay.
For this product. Otherwise, if you keep it low cost, agent or settlement agent is on the hook for multiple years of retention. And facing fines and imprisonment if you fail at your job.
Right.
Are we getting any more guidance yet on FinCEN, or are we still kind of like just coasting towards it, hoping it all works out?
Well, hopefully. I mean, I know at Fidelity we've had some webinars and we tell agents, you've got to be prepared for this. You should be going back and looking at how many files you've had in the last 3 years that would have had to been reported under this new rule. I think it's going to be a rude awakening, though, come March 1st. I just think it is difficult, and these platforms are out there, but like you said, they're expensive, and I think at least we have a better situation than they have in Pennsylvania that way. But it's unfortunate that we're doing the governance job for that, but we've done that in the past. Yeah,
look, we've skated in New Jersey for quite a while with not getting hit with any geographic targeting orders, right? Knock on wood. This is, doesn't matter now.
Right. You're right.
We're all in the same boat after March 1st. But I think we're all going to have to get acclimated to it. This is probably one of the things that have popped up as new realities in the past 10 years. I would say this one is the most polarizing in people's opinions about how big of an effect it will have. Depending on who you speak to and the day of the week and the weather, some people say this is going to be a big time suck, and it's going to be an entire employee, or you're really going to need to be prepared and vigilant. And then you speak to other people and they say, this is really not, it's going to be a blip. You're just, every once in a while you're going to have to do this thing. They go to a website and, the pain of it is taken off your shoulders. You just got to pay for it.
I'm unfortunately on the former side. I think it's going to be difficult. I really think this is going to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is probably the biggest challenge we have.
Yeah.
When it comes, I hope the latter group is right.
Yeah.
I'm just not that optimistic.
Okay. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a bit of both. I think a lot of settlement folks are going to struggle to catch up because I've also spoken to some agents who are like, well, what do I really need to do?
Mm-hmm.
And my advice is like start reading. Like get on the internet, go to the IRS website and download all the information. Look up who the vendors are because you're going to need help. You're not going to want to take this on your shoulders. And it's really it's incumbent upon us to get prepared. And then that being said, my best estimate is the average agent is going to be like 10% of your business. At least that's what it looks like in the files that I'm able to look at.
Okay.
And so depending on what your throughput is, that could either be a big job, or we're just part of somebody's new reality.
Okay. Still 10%. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of files that I think ALTA estimates almost 3 hours or something. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, but
I mean, this is also the biggest hammer that's been held over our head in a long time. We were all gasping for breath when the CFPB came to life, and they were like, $50,000. I can get fined $50,000.
Right.
Well, this makes that look like child's play.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening out there, agents, and you don't know about FinCEN yet, do your homework. Give Rick a call.
Okay, but say, if you haven't heard about FinCEN yet, you got to get your head out of the sand.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is something you should be aware of, and reach out to your local NJLTA member if you need some education on that.
Definitely.
So let's go sideways a little bit. We mentioned our regulator, whom we love, the Department of Banking and Insurance. We wish we had more time with you, but sometimes mom and dad are busy, and they can't give you all their attention. You've been the chair of the liaison committee for quite a while.
Long time.
For as long as I've been involved, and I'm sure for many years before that. Since COVID or before COVID, it's been a struggle to have regular conversations with them. No,
it actually was just before COVID that they said they were suspending all what we call it a title liaison committee, but they call it title advisory board. And they have advisory boards with life and health and property and casualty. And the message we got was they suspended all meetings with their advisory boards.
Right.
And I don't know why they did that. We went to Trenton for the meetings. It's not like we inconvenienced them.
Sure.
And not all the meetings were what I would say is productive. We didn't always have agenda. I always had an agenda for the meetings, but maybe the agenda didn't change much. But I think it's important that we do meet with our regulator. And I think it's unusual. I think New Jersey is one of the few states that does meet with their regulator or have been meeting with a regular basis. It all started from a very defensive and position back in 87. And again, if I'm going back too far or whatever, but you just stop me. But
no.
We were we're kind of a small industry that not a lot of people know about, but we were disparaged on the front page of the Star Ledger on December 20th of 1987. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I had friends that knew I was in title insurance. They called me up and said, "Wow, you were ripping off people," and I couldn't believe it.
You get disinvited to a lot of holiday parties.
No, I don't remember that part of it, but it just said that we make a lot of profit and don't pay any claims, essentially. And there was this at the time, Insurance Commissioner Ken Marin had requested Leonard Karp, who was the director of Consumer Affairs, to issue a report on title insurance. Why, I'm not quite sure, but and it got leaked to the press and had misfacts, misstatement. It was terrible. So, well, first it was in the Star Ledger, and then we got a copy of the report, and we requested to meet with the department to talk about things because we said, this is not factually correct. And so we finally, this was December of '87. So in early '88, we had a meeting. We actually, the Title Association commissioned Huggins Financial Group to issue a report on the regulation of title insurance in New Jersey. And Warren Cooper was at Huggins Financial Group, Financial Services, and he was a former, I don't know if he was a commissioner, but he was a former department employee. So we thought he would have some credibility with the department. And it took him a while. He issued his report in September, I think, of '88. And so there we requested meetings, and we went through, we had, at that time, we were meeting like every other month. We had a committee of us meeting with the department. And we went through that report line by line and went through it. And we were dealing with Joe Kenny and Eileen Costello at the department. Joe Kenny was interesting guy, very combative. And they were difficult meetings. And they had prepared a subsequent report that we told them wasn't correct, and they never issued it. And the CARP report never actually got issued. It was just a draft. It got leaked to the press, though, and it really, but it just showed how the department did not know really anything about title insurance. Really, they did. And let's face it, we're a very small piece of what they regulate. Very small piece. And that's probably a good thing.
Yes.
But so out of that, and it was very combative at first, but we ended up having meetings, and we actually have helped the department with different, like if they have an investigation or a market conduct study or something, they've called us and asked for our opinion or whatever. And so the meetings were productive for many years. And it just, unfortunately, the last few years, and maybe it was me, I don't know. I just think it was people, it just seemed less interested. And that was unfortunate when they got suspended altogether. And the thing that bothered me is the person who I think made the decision to suspend the meetings, he called me up a couple times about various issues that had come across the department's desk. And I said, these are things instead of you calling me, we could have talked about this in our committee, and we're there. Yes, we have a different perspective than you have, but we're there to help you too.
I have a good example of that. I think it was 2018, one of the, my early involvement with the liaison committee. We actually, at our meeting, gave them a thorough description of the mechanisms of fraud in the industry, because it was becoming more and more of an issue. And, my IT cyber background, this was the first time I was able to actually contribute something of value other than just nodding my head and saying, what Joe said or what Rick said, or what Lisa said. But, it was, I felt, they seemed to take interest, and they were like, this is great. We need to do more of this. And then there was talk about involving the Bar Association, the Mortgage Bankers Association. And then they shut it down. So I don't think that it was any failing on your part or our part. I think we were doing it. We were doing the work and trying to get it done. Just, political appointees or government efficiencies or whatever happened to it. I'm interested, though, to know if you think that there's a path back towards regular conversation, or if this is going to be our new normal.
I hope there's a path back to regular conversation. I know our lobbyists got involved in setting up the meeting we had in February, was it, or whenever?
Really.
And so that I thought was a good start. The commissioner who wasn't around at the time the meetings got suspended, was kind of surprised to hear they were suspended. Seemed like, anyway. And he appointed somebody else to be like our contact person. The person who's our contact person is a nice guy, and I've actually dealt with him over the years. He's retired. He's a consultant with the department, and I just don't think they have a lot of interest there. But it's not going to be for lack of effort, because I do think we need to continue the dialogue with our department, and for a couple. I mean, it's important to have what we call active state supervision. It protects us to have a rating bureau for antitrust reasons, and so it's important to have antitrust, have active state supervision. And I think to meet with them regularly is good, and I think it's helpful. I really, ever since the CARP report, when we were hammering that out, those meetings sometimes were very combative. For the most part, the meetings have not been at all.
No.
And it's just been more of an exchange of ideas. And so I think it's been fine. I remember one time we even did, and I've offered this, we did, because the department doesn't really know much about title insurance, and sometimes that's a good thing and not a good thing. We did a Title 101 program for them probably about 12 years ago, where I think ALTA had a program and we kind of modified it, but we had probably about, I think the department had like 50 people attend, I think.
Right.
And we had, I know Joe Graves spoke about searching, and Beth Way spoke about settlements. We spoke about different areas. And I remember the people, they thought that was great because they really didn't know what we did.
Sure.
And we were trying to explain the process of a title, of reading a title. And I've offered we should do that again, but they don't seem to have the interest.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like the life cycle of a real estate transaction, right?
And just what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's value in that. I hope we do find a way to come around and get that started up again.
I hope so too.
And I'm still ready to volunteer, and
I appreciate
I'm
that.
sure there's plenty of others that would like to volunteer as well if the need arose. Yeah. Let me ask you, going back to when you were president, 1989, 1990. To your recollection, what would you say was your biggest challenges during your presidency?
Okay. Okay. I was going to say, let me just tell you what my most memorable day of my presidency, because I think this is an interesting story. And then I'll get back to the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the most memorable day was October 17th. And I know that because I looked at the shirt in my bureau this morning. So I know the date. But I was at the ALTA convention, and it was a beautiful day. And Joe Grabus and his wife Patty and my wife Diane and I, we decided we were going to rent a car and go up to the wine country in Napa. And so we drove a car. It was a beautiful day. We drove up there, and I was responsible for getting agents transportation to a dinner for Transamerica agents later that night. So I forget which winery we were at the time, but I said, we have to get going. So we're driving back, and just before we got to the Bay Bridge, and it was a beautiful day, like I said, all of a sudden brown water shoots up from Route 80 or 88, whatever it was at the time, on the windshield. We were trying to find the windshield wipers on this Eagle Premier. And so I stopped, traffic stopped. I walked to the toll booth for the Bay Bridge, that the arms had come down. And I went to the toll collector. I said, what happened? Did we have an earthquake? And that was the first time I even thought of it. We were concerned we couldn't see because of the brown water shot. Yeah. And the guy looked at me like, did you just land from a different planet? So this was during the World Series when they had the earthquake in San Francisco. Right. And so I drove across a median to go, and there were no cell phones. We had no idea what was going on. And I saw a payphone at this place. It was called the Barbecue. Okay. And I don't know if it was a strip joint or a barbecue or a combination. But there were people outside. They had no idea there was an earthquake either, I don't think. And I was on the phone trying to get through to call my boss to say we're going to be delayed a little bit. And I couldn't get through. I go back to my car with Joe, Diane, and Patty sit in the car, and the car doors are locked. And so they let me in. They said, "Did you get through?" I said, "No." They said, "Why did you stop trying?" They said, "Well, why do you lock the car doors?" Like, we were not in a good area of town.
Right.
We were in Oakland. And so we ended up driving around. And again, we really had no idea what was going on.
Right.
And then we go to the Golden Gate Bridge, and we could see the marina was on fire.
Oh, gosh.
And I didn't want to really be on bridge, but I had to get back. So we drove flying over that. And I remember, we get back into town in San Francisco, and we could see the lights, the traffic lights were out. We had no idea.
Right.
And so I saw the restaurant I was supposed to go to. So I said, I'm just going to pull over. I'm going to go in and tell my boss we're going to go in, and they're just going to go back, take a shower. I'll get back there later on.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a policeman on the sidewalk. He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm just going to go in and tell him." He said, "There's nobody in there. The city is shut down."
Wow.
We just had no idea. So then we get back to the hotel, and nobody's in the hotel. Everybody's outside, and it's dark,
mm-hmm.
and there's no lights. And my brother and his wife were out there. And so I was, at this point now, we're realizing this could be really bad.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find my brother in this crowd of people. And I found somebody who worked for the company he worked for, because we didn't work the same company at the time,
mm-hmm.
who said, "He's okay, he's looking for you too." But whatever, so it worked out.
Oh my gosh.
But the Bay Bridge, which I walked from my car to the toll booth, is the one that collapsed.
Right.
And cars went into the bay.
Right.
And we were late.
Gosh, I remember
and it's
that.
a good thing we weren't 2 minutes earlier.
Right.
Because I was probably 8 cars back or whatever when the bridge collapsed.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my most memorable day. And that's not the way you asked me. So the biggest challenge, getting back to that. But I just thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah.
That was.
No, look, I don't feel so bad now that Louise got COVID at my convention. That's a minor inconvenience compared to being involved in the San Francisco earthquake.
That was something. But, we never felt the earthquake. We always said,
wow,
Eagle Premier is not a car that's around anymore, but must have good shocks or something. And we didn't have that much to drink or anything like that. It just was. And then the next day, I'm a pretty sound sleeper, but I woke up at 3 a.m. Didn't feel anything, but they said that was the largest aftershock was 3 a.m. then. I guess it woke me up, but I didn't feel it. So I didn't feel anything. But,
wow.
So for the biggest challenge that we had, the CARP report came out before I was president. We were just starting to meet with the department. So that was our biggest challenge, was setting up. I think the title advisory board was actually appointed officially. We had a couple meetings with the department, but it was actually officially appointed in '89 when I was president. So that was really the biggest challenge. We were under attack as an industry, and it was agents and underwriters. The whole industry was under attack. So that was the biggest challenge. The other challenge was really getting the agency section, even though it was in existence, there weren't people at the table.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't votes yet. I think it might have happened just before I got there, but there really was no. So I was trying to get that through. So that was another challenge, I would say. I would say those were probably the 2 biggest challenges. We also had there was a court case. It was a very bad decision that we filed an amicus, and we were successful on the Walker-Rogie case on surveys.
Mm-hmm.
We were being held. It limited the scope of the survey endorsement, and I think at the time we were responsible for the amount, the size of the property was included as an issue. That was, and we didn't think that was the scope of the survey. Anyway, we were successful on that. That was another challenge we had, was that case, but we were successful on amicus.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that was your greatest accomplishment, or was there something else that was greater than that?
I would say the greatest accomplishment. I think it was getting a better relationship with the department.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think getting the agency section at the table at the Board of Governors, and
Mm-hmm.
where they had I think at that time we were able to have 2 delegates and 1 vote, is how we started. But it was hard to get to that point. So I was pleased that we did that. So I would say those are probably the 2 biggest accomplishments, other than not being 5 minutes, or a couple minutes earlier and being on the Bay Bridge.
Right, having good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I can appreciate that. When I talk about when I was president, everybody wants to talk about Hudson County, and I prefer to talk about kind of doing a management reset more than anything. That doesn't make the papers.
Yeah,
but I think it was important. I think
I agree.
That's the part that'll have the more lasting impact. And for you, it's what you did with the department and with the agency section had a lasting impact.
Yeah.
So the Walker-Rogie case, I'm sure, is very important, and I've heard Joe talk about it at numerous CE classes. But for the association, those other accomplishments, I understand that completely.
I had nothing to do with the Walker, other than I was president when we got the
when it was
payroll. I'm not an underwriter, and so I wasn't involved. But that was a definite win for the association when I was president. Just talk about counties. We actually had a problem with Morris County when I was president. They would not accept title company checks for recording documents. So Terry Flanagan, Kathy Esposito, and I went to meet with the Morris County clerk and explain the situation. And because we were getting documents rejected because a title company sent them for recording.
Right.
It was ridiculous. I mean, it was, and we were able to get that overturned. So that was the only county that I remember having an issue with, and it was Morris County of all counties.
Right.
That really isn't a problem generally, but they wouldn't accept title company checks for a period of about, I'll say almost 6 weeks, 2 months or something like that.
Wow.
It was really a problem.
So they had been accepting them and then all of a sudden stopped? Yeah. Did they give a rationale for that?
I think, okay. There was a title agent's check that did bounce.
Okay.
And so they just rejected all title company checks. And so they did have a reason why initially, but it was a problem, a big problem. Because then the attorneys would have to write a check. Sometimes we did certified checks or whatever. It was a problem. But we did get it corrected. And I forget who that agent was, but they did have a problem that precipitated it.
Sure. It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah. Just interesting that we did have a problem with the county clerk back then.
Yeah. I mean, that's great evidence for why, agent involvement in the association is important.
Absolutely.
I think, bringing everybody on message about proper procedures and safeguards and, education is all key to making sure that folks are doing things the right way.
Right. So
we don't have clerks that, cut us off.
Yeah.
Out of the blue.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. Let me ask you a little bit about the CTP designation. We're both CTPs.
Okay.
I don't have my pin, so
I did wear my pin.
If and when Joe Gravis watches this video, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. But I just, I threw the polo on this morning. I apologize. I assume you're an advocate for people contributing of their time and their expertise and doing that. What do you think it says to the industry and to others if you've been given that designation?
I think it shows that you're I would say a leader of your industry, or you've put in the time or the effort. I guess I don't make a big deal out of it, but I think it is a recognition, and I think it's a good thing to have. I think Joe was one of the first people who's talked about having the certified title professional, and I think it's a good idea. I think it is. I think it's very good. I don't look at it as the best thing that ever happened in my career or anything like that, but I think it's a good thing to have to recognize people who have put forth the time and are leaders of our industry.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm interested to know if you agree with this. For me, I think it's important that we get more people to strive for this designation for a couple of reasons. First, it means that they have to get more involved.
I agree with that.
And that's going to bring more people into the conversations and more hands on deck for the kinds of things we're trying to get done. And it also spreads understanding and knowledge about what the association is actually doing and what we're actually for.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that I think, giving somebody that designation for their knowledge, expertise, and service is a great way to model the kind of title person that we want to see in the industry.
Right.
I think it's great that there's 30 some odd CTPs, but there should probably be 50 or 60. Like there's a lot of people who have put in a lot of time
mm-hmm.
who just never filled out the paperwork or didn't have anybody, giving them a gentle nudge to say, hey, you know what? You're pretty close to being a CTP.
Yeah.
If you would write this down and see how many hours you've spent in service, I think there probably could be more.
Yeah, I agree. There probably should be more. You are much more eloquent about the CTP than I was. I mean, I guess I haven't really given that a lot of thought, but we should have more. And it is a recognized designation that people should aspire to.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the NJLTA's future.
Okay.
I think a lot of things have changed and a lot of things are changing. In your opinion, what's the most important areas for us to focus on for the future of the association?
Well, I think, like I said, I think there's much more we have in common as a group. And I think we have to promote our industry. And I think that's important. I think whoever the president should be what I would call a collaborative leader. I think they should have their goals and what they would like to accomplish, but they need to be collaborative with others because it's not something you really can go off on your own and do. But I think the association, I think we should go back and look at what we really do. We protect the consumer. Our industry protects the consumer. And I think that's important. And we should focus on that. And we should make sure that we do that. And as a trade association, we should do everything we can to support that. And unfortunately, fraudsters seem to be a step ahead of us as an industry. And but I think as a group, we can tackle this problem much easier than if everybody tries to do it individually.
Absolutely.
So I think that, and I don't know if I really answered your question, but I think that's the important role of the title of the. It is a trade association. It's not a company that is bottom line driven or anything like that. We are a trade association, but we should promote our industry. We are a very valuable industry. I've always felt good about what I do, and I'm not in any way bashful about saying I work in title insurance. It's a very important thing. Right. We help people attain the American dream. It may sound corny, but it's true. I mean,
absolutely.
It's
I mean, the audience for this podcast is probably well aware of all the things that we do. But just in case you're not, in addition to lubricating and providing fuel to the economic engine of the United States, we're the number one collector of judgment debts and child support.
Absolutely.
And, we make sure that the conveyance of real estate happens in a way that's reliable for lending, which is one of America's great strengths.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of important things that we do. Right. But I think your message, if I'm summarizing correctly, as for what's important for the future of the association, is unity.
Absolutely.
Would that be your primary?
Yeah. Yes. We like I said, we have more in common,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no reason that there should be friction.
Mm-hmm.
We should be unified group.
Professional friction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disagreements are absolutely common.
I understand.
But yeah, trust and putting our trust in each other and then moving forward in a way that makes this thing strong and work and sustainable. I think that's where we need to go.
I agree. The interesting thing is we're a lot of us are competitors.
Mm-hmm.
I always think we're friendly competitors. It's a collegial group. And I just think that we're a lot stronger when we go at it from that perspective than from trying to take a side that may be controversial.
Right. Yeah, you can be a strong competitor without needing to be cutthroat.
Right.
And you can work with others who are striving for the same goals you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest, New Jersey's got a lot of real estate going on.
We do.
And there's enough pie to be divided up for everybody to have a share, some larger than others, because, some people have different goals.
Right.
But we can all agree that to make sure the industry is protected and that our interests are protected and that the consumer is protected, honestly,
right,
we need to work together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's for the association. For the industry itself, for title insurance and settlements services, what do you view as our biggest challenges? FinCEN aside, we've already talked about FinCEN. What other challenges await us?
I think the biggest challenge we have is attracting, I'll say young people, but attracting talent to our industry. We are an aging group. And so I think that's the most important. I always thought we should do recruiting almost the way I was recruited to the bank in Reading, Pennsylvania. Go to colleges, whether it be community colleges or other colleges that have career day. We should be there because people don't know about title insurance, and you can have a rewarding career in title insurance. So I think attracting people is difficult because it seems like most people get in the business by chance. I mean, family. It just happened. My brother was in it before, so I don't think we make enough of an effort to attract young people and talent in general to our industry. So I think that's probably our biggest challenge going forward.
Yeah, I think part of the thing that's difficult about recruiting is that nobody really understands what we do, and then when you do get their ear and explain what we do, it sounds really boring.
It does. Their eyes can gloss over it. You're right.
It sounds boring, but there is a lot of value to a career in this business.
Definitely.
My story is I burned out of 5 other careers, and I had no idea what this was. My mother was a real estate paralegal and said, "You need to talk to somebody in title insurance because I think that might be for you." I didn't know what it was, but I was desperate.
Yeah.
So you either fall into it or you're born into it.
Right.
Is the common scheme, but I agree with you. We need to find a way to bring in some fresh young faces.
I definitely think that's our biggest challenge.
Every now and again, you get a couple, but it's like slow going.
Very slow.
I like the idea of doing like job fairs at colleges and stuff. Do you think that's just something that members should do individually, or do you think the association should look into going to the job fairs and saying, "Hey, look, we have a lot of members that might like to hire you. You should know what title insurance is."
Interesting that you say that. I think it would be probably a good idea for the Title Association to do that. I know I've actually mentioned this to people I've worked with, and they'll say that, you try to recruit somebody that will bring in business, not somebody that's they're not going to pay for themselves in the beginning. And that's hard to do.
It's impossible.
So it's never seemed to be an initiative of any of the underwriters I worked for. But I think having the Title Association maybe going to a job fair is not a bad thing.
Yeah. I would also say that successes that I've had have been looking for candidates in non-traditional current roles. A lot of great people can be found in the service sector who are intelligent enough to not have to wait tables, intelligent enough to not have to, work at a front desk or for UPS, but have the work ethic of having worked in those jobs that are demanding of your time and your attention. So that when they actually get to an office setting, they appreciate it and they know how to work hard.
Yeah.
They know how to contribute of their time. That was my path in. I came from lots of different service roles.
Okay.
And, so by the time I got to an office setting, I had my first 1 hour lunch where I didn't have to keep working while I was eating.
Right.
I called my wife from my car. I said, "You're not going to believe this." She said, "What?" I said, "I'm on lunch." She's like, "Yeah, so what?" I was like, "No, out of the office, for an hour. I get to go to lunch for an hour." She's like, "No way." Because we were from restaurants and hotels, and it was you get 10 minutes to eat over there in the corner and then get back out there because you just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So look, I think we need to find people. I love the job fair idea for the association, not just for individual members.
I think it's a good idea. I think it'd probably be easier for the association to do it than a particular company, probably.
Right. And that might help us strengthen the job posting function on the website that we have, but nobody really uses.
Yeah.
But if the association is out there pumping up the industry, maybe agents would be more likely to post their jobs there because people might be looking for it.
Yeah.
So great idea. Let's hope it materializes into something.
Sounds good.
If somebody's just, let's say we hire one of these youngins, these theoretical young people, and they're just getting started in title insurance. What's your best advice for them career-wise?
To be present wherever and try to get exposed to as much of the different segments of the business as you can. I mean, I have to say, I never searched, but I think it's probably important to start. Somebody should start in the record room, probably. Although maybe they do it online, whatever. But because I don't have that, I didn't have that background. But I think it's best to get as well-rounded as you can and try to learn as much as you can, so you know what part of title insurance you want to do.
Right.
So I think that's probably the best advice, is just to try to absorb as much as you can and try to be exposed to as much as you can.
Also, understanding the different parts of the machine help you understand the whole a lot better. You can communicate the value of what we do a lot better.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, I've worked for large companies and small companies. And at the large companies, you'll have somebody who starts as a typist, and then one day they find themselves working in the marketing department. And then one day they find themselves as a sales rep. And then you have other avenues, people that come in working in the marketing department, and then one day they find themselves as a processor, and one day they find themselves as an examiner. So, don't be afraid to stretch out. Right. It's important.
Try new things and see what interests you the most.
Right. Excellent. All right. So, how are you feeling? Feeling good? Yeah.
I feel fine.
All right. So we're going to go through without a break. Sometimes I do a break.
That's fine. Yeah.
But we're gonna muscle through because I've only got a couple more questions.
Okay.
And some of them get a little free form. Okay. As long as you're not tired or
I'm fine and
beleaguered, bored to tears by my droning.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, you can ask away. I probably have been free form maybe more than you wanted me.
No, absolutely. I love it. The conversation goes where it goes. So let me ask you this: if you could, this is the time machine question. If you could go back to your younger self, and give yourself one piece of career advice with regards to title insurance in our industry, what would you say?
I think it would have been. I said I never spent any time in the rec room. I spent one day. They did send me there for a day. I think it probably would have been helpful to do that a little bit, and also maybe to actually sit down and go through the title file or something like that. I really wasn't exposed to that. So I think that's probably something that probably would have been helpful. Or it would have been, probably looking back, I should have that background. But
I can make some calls for you if you want to, take the time now. I know some people. We get you in the county.
Okay, I think that those days have passed me by. But so maybe I'm being
so stretch your wings before it's too late.
Yeah,
is the message.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, that's great. So let me ask you some non-title questions.
Okay.
We're going to steer away from what we've been talking about. We're going to go into a little bit more personal territory.
Okay.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Wayne, New Jersey.
Okay.
And Packanack Lake section, very nice, very good place to grow up.
Mm-hmm. And where'd you go to school?
I went to public school in Wayne, and then I went to Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Which, interesting little tidbit is, my high school was larger than the college I went to.
Huh.
My graduating class in high school was like 525, and my graduating class in college was just about, it was under 500, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
That's big high school.
Yeah, I went to a big high school. Yeah.
So what would you say was the thing in your young life that changed you the most? What was a key developmental part of your upbringing? What comes to mind as something that shaped a young Rick Wilson?
Well, okay, I have had tremendous respect for my father.
Mm-hmm.
He worked hard and he coached. I had 2 brothers and a sister, but he always coached us in sports. And I made sure that I have 3 boys, and I made sure that I coached them in all different sports except for hockey. I don't go on skates. But I made sure I took the time to do that because my father took the time to do it with Steve, Dave, and I. And so that was important to me.
Mm-hmm. Were you the oldest, youngest, middle?
I am the third of 4.
Third of 4. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting you bring up sports and coaching because I had a similar experience as a young kid. My dad was very involved. He was my scoutmaster. He was an assistant baseball coach, knew nothing about baseball. He was an assistant soccer coach, knew nothing about soccer, but he was there and he was present, and he took the time. I tried very hard to be that kind of dad too when I had kids. I found it very interesting that nowadays, if you're not a semi-professional level sports person, your contributions are not exactly welcome. The proliferation of youth sports as an industry has kind of made it kind of exclusive. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a colleague about how expensive it is for his son to play baseball. And I remember when I was, growing up in the 70s and 80s, you would show up with a glove. Maybe. If you didn't have a glove, they'd get you a glove.
Right.
But everything else, bats, balls, helmets, uniform was provided for your $25 registration fee. And now, every season they're buying thousands of dollars worth of equipment every year.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, how do you get kids involved?
That's too bad, because I have to say, I remember playing baseball, for example. We had wooden bats then. Mm-hmm. And if the bat cracked, we taped it up and used it. We didn't get a new bat.
No.
And coaching. It's like, I coached soccer. I played a little bit of soccer, but when I was a kid, I didn't play soccer.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Right.
I just did what I thought was best. I tried to make sure the kids had fun.
Right.
I think nowadays parents sometimes are too concerned about their kids thinking about the next level and everything else instead of just being a kid.
Right.
I played sports. I enjoyed it. I never really thought I was going to make it. Maybe I was a little kid. Maybe.
Everybody, before the age of 12, 13, everybody thinks they're going to be a pro.
And I think it's important to expose your kids to everything.
Right.
My kids all played all different sports, and then they gravitated towards golf. But and sometimes parents, I remember, I'm getting a little bit off subject here, but there was I was watching my son play in a junior golf tournament, and there was a father was watching his son, and he was so rough on his son. I said, Jim, you got to lay off. He's not going to want to play golf anymore. You got to let him enjoy it.
Right.
I mean, it's not the U.S. Open.
Right.
You just got to let him enjoy it. And I think so. I mean, I'm older. I coached my kids, even though I was not an expert. I mean, I did play basketball a little bit in college and stuff, so I did know basketball, but soccer I really didn't know, and baseball I did play a lot of baseball, but I wasn't very good at it. But I knew well enough to coach them as kids. I mean, no, the high school shouldn't hire me to coach them, but I wasn't trying to do that.
Kids should be able to play.
Yeah, they should. And I think it's important for kids to be exposed to all different sports. And if they want to gravitate to something, let them do it later on.
Right.
But
I think the point you made about parents putting pressure on the kids is the key.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything we can really do about it, because that's like society is very much, success driven, especially in, America. Like everybody wants to achieve, which is good, but there's something to be said for, just having a recreational, like access to sports.
Yeah.
For kids. And I was listening to a podcast recently where they were discussing how when you're in your 40s and you join the beer league to play softball or whatever, nobody cares if you're not great.
Right.
You just show up.
Yeah.
And you play. And everybody gets
and you
to
have
play.
fun.
And you have fun.
Yeah.
That used to exist for kids. It doesn't now.
That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that, because my
rec league for kids is almost non-existent.
That's too bad. I know. I was walking our dog around the park, and there was this guy who was coaching little kids, probably like 5 years old, in soccer. And I saw after practice, he was looking at his notes, and I didn't know who this guy was. I went over to him. I said, did your kids have fun today? They're 5 years old or whatever they were. I said, your role, yes, you want to teach them something in soccer. Just make sure the kids have fun.
Right.
Because then they'll play next year.
Exactly.
And if you don't try too hard. I said, I was there. I mean, I know you want to do it just right. They're 5 years old.
Right.
Let them be kids. Let them have fun.
Yeah. There's something also to be said about, kids learning because it was fun. If you make it a task, they'll turn their brain off.
Right. Right.
They'll go through it just to get through it.
Yeah.
So, I think we put a lot of value on sports and professional sports in this country, and maybe too much.
Too much. And I enjoy sports, but we put too much.
I love sports. I think kids should be allowed to just go and play.
They should be kids.
Yes. So when we're done fixing all the problems of the NJLTA, Rick and I are going to form a rec league in the state of New Jersey, where anybody can come and play, any age, from 3 on up to 23, and everybody's welcome. But
when I coach my kids, it was definitely recreation,
right?
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. So, so you like golf? Would you say that's your primary hobby or pastime?
Yes, I also got into pickleball recently, but that's a lot of fun. But golf has always been fun. That's another thing that my father taught us. And golf is good. And I'm the worst golfer in my family. I have 3 boys that are very good golfers. They all think that people who don't know me think that my wife must have taught them how to play golf, because they're all better than I am, but not true. But,
well, they must be pretty good, because you have a reputation among title people as being a pretty decent golfer.
I'm okay. As I said, I'm the worst in my family, but my wife doesn't play.
I make no claims to being good at golf, but I do enjoy it. It's fun to get out there.
It's a great game. I caddied when I was a kid. It's a great job. And all my kids caddied, and golf has been good.
That's great.
And I enjoy watching my kids play. I caddied for them sometimes, and just have to give my oldest son actually was a pro at one time, and he played in the U.S. Open, and it was amazing to watch my son play in the U.S. Open.
That's great.
So that was a lot of fun.
What are the ages of your kids?
Okay, Pat is 35, just got married, and Corey is 31. He's down in Nashville, and my 4 grandkids are down in Nashville. Wow. Which is unfortunate it's that far away. And then Tyler is 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what do they do? Are they all title insurance people just like that?
No, so Pat, my oldest, was pursuing professional golf for a while. And so that was his dream. And he gave it probably 5 years and didn't travel to Latin America, Canada, and I played one US Open. Didn't quite make it. So he's in insurance, just general insurance. And Tyler is works for a healthcare startup down in Nashville.
Awesome.
And he's doing well with that. And Tyler works for a large insurance broker, actually, not title related or anything, but yeah.
Excellent.
So they all seem to be doing well.
Right.
Which is rewarding.
So when you're not golfing and title insurancing and pickleballing, what else do you like to do? Do you have any other interests?
Yeah, we have 3 acres of property, so that takes some time to do that. We also, my wife and I, we bought a house up in Maine.
Nice.
My parents are retired there, and my kids, that's what their vacation is, going up to Maine. As kids, we always went up there. And my wife and I, in October of 23, bought a house that was actually right around the corner from my parents' house. So
great.
So yeah, go up to Maine sometimes too. Yeah,
very cool.
Like up in the coast of Maine.
So you're a dog person?
Yes.
This is important.
Not as much as my wife is, but yes, I am.
Important.
Yeah.
How many dogs do you have now?
We just have one.
Just the one.
Well, we have one as of when I left this morning.
You're not sure what might have transpired.
My wife definitely wants Ruth to have a partner. So
I can espouse for you the benefits and maybe detriments to that. So we had a beagle. We have a beagle, and if you're not a beagle person, they are a handful. They're, a hunting dog, and they want to go. Yeah. And when they're not outside sniffing for rabbits, they are all over you. They want attention. And so we got a second dog, and worked out for us. We know some other people got the second dog, and then the second dog just adds to the chaos. So it really depends on the dog. We got the second dog, and the second dog tires out the beagle.
Okay.
So we have less of that beagle chaos in the house. So yeah, buyer beware. Yeah, it could be a good thing.
Yeah. We had 3 dogs at one time though. Okay. So I'm used to having more than one dog. In fact, I remember when we got our second dog, I was driving down to South Jersey to play golf actually with a friend, and Diane called and said, we looked at the boys and looked at a dog today at a breeder. I said, we have a dog. And so they said, well, no, it's yours. So I come home that night, and there's all these notes the kids left for me, because they were young at the time.
Right.
About, Dad, we love you, and Chelsea needs a partner. And so I said, okay, I'll go look at the dog. And so I go to, this is the next day, we go to the breeder, and there's a dog with food coloring on it. They had picked the dog out, and they had actually brought the dog home and then put it back. So no, I can understand. I think the dog we have now is very well adjusted. I just think adding another one is probably not great, but I am probably going to be outruled.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like your wife is the controlling factor in dog.
On the dog side,
On the dog side. I'm the problem in the house with dogs. It's, if I had my way, we would have a dozen.
Oh, really?
I'm terrible. I love dogs. And I have a hard time saying no if somebody says, adopt this dog.
Yeah.
So my wife is good about reining me in, though.
Oh, okay.
She's like, 2 is enough. You don't need any more than 2.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, every night I at least send her one text
Okay.
from the local SPCA. Oh, you see this poor dog? He needs to be adopted.
Yeah, my wife doesn't send me those. She does check, but I don't think she sends. She sends. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So look, I'm gonna steer this back towards title.
Okay.
And I just want to kind of wrap this up with one last question for you. How do you want your contributions to the NJLTA and the industry to be remembered? Have you given that any thought?
I really haven't. I think, I mean, I feel like I've tried to do what's best for whatever employer I'm working for at the time, and also for the industry. I think I've tried to look at what's in the best interest of both, and I think they're pretty similar. So I feel like I've been committed and tried to do the best I could for what I thought was right for the industry, and hopefully someday, I guess, somebody will look at it that I was helpful. But I really haven't thought about a legacy or anything like that. I just try to do the best I can every day.
Well, without a doubt, I think that's the bare minimum of how you'll be remembered. I think people will remember that you contributed regularly and in a meaningful way. And from the people that I've spoke to about your service, it's very well regarded and very much appreciated. And we're thankful and grateful to have had you as president, and to have you as a continuing contributor to the existence and the effectiveness of the association.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's very nice coming from you. I appreciate it.
I would just like to say to everybody else out there, take Rick as an example. Be present, show up, contribute, find a niche, and try to help, because we need more people like Rick to help this organization exist.
Well, thanks.
And in the future.
One thing I would say is that if you do go through the chairs, don't have your year as president be your last year of your involvement, because I was 32, I think, when I was president. So I might have been the youngest one. I don't know, but I've been involved since as well. I think it's important to stay involved. The year that you're president shouldn't be the culmination of your involvement in the Title Association. Yeah,
I know it's hard to see yourself sticking with it after you've finished, but it's not only important, I think it's very rewarding.
Definitely.
I think the year or two after you step back and you feel that missing limb syndrome, right? Where you're no longer the president, but you kind of feel like you want to reach in and steer things, but you hold back because you know it's not your show anymore. When that starts to fade and the fog of war lifts, you start to say, oh, this is where I can contribute now. Yeah. And I've seen all the machinations. I know how the sausage is made. So I'm better prepared to help the people who are going to steer the association after me, to help them achieve their goals. Yeah. And so I think that's something you've done with mastery.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick Wilson.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you to everybody who took the time to watch or listen to this podcast. We have tens of viewers now. So we're shooting for 100. When we get to 100, we're going to have a party.
Sounds good.
This has been a great and very pleasurable interview. And thanks again. And we'll see you next time on the Past Presidents Podcast.